everybody. I wanted to do a follow-up video after last week's RBA decision, especially now that those rate calls have started filtering through from the banks. The good news is it looks like everyone's going to be getting themselves a 0.25 rate cut, especially for new borrowing. But for existing borrowers, I'm finding that some of the language with a couple of the banks has been a bit questionable. So I want to ask that people keep an eye out as these rate cuts start to filter through to see what you actually get. And if it's not the full 0.25, to please reach out and let us know. Now, the purpose of this video today was really to help people understand what this is going to mean in the real world for you now that a rate cut has come through, because a lot of people are going to look at it and go, great, my repayments are going to drop, right? And the answer is not necessarily. So firstly, it's going to depend on your product. And so what I mean by that is that if you're on interest only, for example, your repayments will reflect the rate cut immediately because your repayments are tied in specifically to the interest rate and move with an interest rate. If you're P&I, it's a different story. So firstly, the rate cut does actually hit you. So to use a really basic example, if you've got a $4,000 repayment and you're currently paying $2,000 principal and $2,000 interest, well, that repayment may now change, and instead you'll still pay $4,000, but you might start paying $2,200 in principal and $1,800 in interest. Now, the maths is going to be off on that, but it's to demonstrate the point that you'll notice that your repayment's still $4,000 a month. What's changed is how much interest you pay and how much principal you pay. So what that means is that if you leave things as they are, effectively you're going to pay your loan off sooner, which is great news, and that's what I'll encourage anyone to do. But not everyone's in this boat, and some people really do need that rate relief. And I don't want to make this an instruction to everybody, but what I want to say is you need to assess your own personal circumstances. And if you feel the need for it, what you can do is call up your bank, ask them to apply the actual interest rate to your repayment, and that will reduce the actual repayment that you do make. But that also means that if, for example, you are on a 30-year term, you're not going to pay this thing off any faster. You will keep making the minimum repayments and you will see this thing through up until 30 years. Whereas if you continue on the higher repayments, which again, I encourage people to do if you're able to, it's going to mean that a couple of things. Firstly, that you will pay off the home loan sooner. But secondly, those extra repayments will either accumulate in redraw or in offset, depending on where your extra funds are going. And what that'll mean is it'll actually be some mandatory savings for you. So you don't necessarily have to access those funds. You can just leave them there, but it's going to mean that it's going to reduce the amount of interest you pay and speed up how quickly you pay off the loan. So it does mean that you're going to have some rainy day money if you need it, but I encourage you not to touch it, to leave it alone, because that's the way that you're going to speed up how quickly you pay off your loan. So again, just to reiterate, if you're looking for that rate relief truly on your repayments, you will need to reach out to your bank directly. Some have mentioned that you can adjust your repayments via the app to the minimum repayment based on the current interest rate, but that's a personal call and you need to really assess your circumstances. I personally would really try and stick with the repayments that you're on. It's going to speed up how quickly you pay down your loan in the long run. Always a win because you're going to be paying less interest over the long term. If you've got any questions about this, please again, do not hesitate to reach out. We're ready to take your calls. Otherwise, once the rate cuts start filtering through, happy days. Hopefully most of you are able to just continue paying your loans as they are and reap the benefits of paying your loan off sooner. I'll talk to you soon.